أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من نفخه ونفثه وهمزه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم اجعلني رحمة للعالمين يتم مكارم الأخلاق. نخرج الخلق من الظلمات إلى النور، أخرج الخلق من الظلمات إلى النور، ونغفر للذين لا يرجون أيام الله ليجزيهم الله بما كانوا يعملون ويتوب علينا أجمعين. إن عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. يعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات. اللهم اجعلنا من المؤمنين حقا. ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته ما زكى منكم من أحد أبدا لاتبعتم الشيطان إلا قليلا لكنتم من الخاسرين. واتقوا الله ويعلمكم الله، فبذلك نسأل الله العافية والعفو والعافية. اللهم آت أنفسنا تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها أنت ولي ومولاها. In the spirit of understanding the world as I experienced it, and some of the lessons my teachers of the divine sciences, the religious sciences, and the worldly sciences, al-alam, the creative sciences that God provided to us, the sciences of an-nafs fi anfusihim, and the mulk wal-malakut, and sanurihum ayatuna fil afaq, and the heavens and the earths, fi anfusihim, that God will continue to show us and help us to experience the world as it truly is and understand God through our own personal relationship with God and our relationship with the created world around us. Of course, we are one of His creations, and the greatest appetite of our father Abraham among the faith of Islam is a statement in the Quran, and the monotheistic faith is أطمع أن يغفر لي خطيئتي يوم الدين. The greatest appetite that Abraham has, still he lives with God in the heavens, in paradise, is forgiveness for all of creation. أطمع أن يغفر لي خطيئتي يوم الدين. He was awwahun munib. He would seek forgiveness for self and for others, knowing the nature of the human heart. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وطاعتك، يا مصرف الأحوال صرف حالنا لأحسن حال. All prophets are protected from making any mistakes. They have a choice between two amazing good choices, and they may have been inspired to pick one of the lesser so that the people around them may learn what to do, even when we have a multitude of good choices to make, how to choose what is most pleasing to God Almighty. For others who are not prophets, we make mistakes and things that are mubiqat, are muhlikat, are things that can exhaust a person, or things that can perish a person, or bring their own demise. And we don't ask for that. We ask for protection from our own failings, from the whispers of self, devil, those people who are intent on doing so, or being misled, or under the influence, and so on. So the approach of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, of course, he sought forgiveness for every creation, and he also took the approach of being a healer in the world like Jesus Christ. Most of the scholars say that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ most resembles Abraham and Jesus in his approach to dealing with the people of his time, and that the closest to the mark is when we seek forgiveness for self and others, and when we try to understand that a moment of lack of wisdom, hikmah, is a type of spiritual element. It is not a dictate of who that person is or will be or is with God. That all of us as human beings are honored and honorable. Every single child of Eve and Adam are honored by God, have been given the spirit of life, are tested as any even electrical device would be tested. We do have that even in our biological mechanism. So God tests to elevate in ranks, to forgive sins, to teach a lesson. Our first teacher is God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the heavens. All of the angels and even the people and even the spiritual realms were there. And there was only one who declined in a vehement way, and he was cursed for it. People made a mistake, they forgot, and they asked genuine, sincere forgiveness, and they are forgiven. And that is the example of our parents, Adam and Eve. So with that, I'm going to think about what some of the scholars have said, that the day and age that we live in many times is a consumerist type world, and it's not a negative thing inherently. That is how we use wealth and how we use our wisdom and how we use our healing power or knowledge or strength. The story of Surat al-Kahf is the trials and tribulations of faith and power and wealth and knowledge and ability. And these things are given to God as a gift, and God will take us to account both in intention and how we carry it out, so long as we are steadily progressing. That means the story of the people of the cave indicates that there are 3 to 4 people with their animals, right? That they're caring people, they are faithful people, and someone was trying to get them and harm those people simply because they believed in one God. So God protected them, and then they were allowed to visit another day and age where people celebrated them and elevated them and recognized that they are faithful people, and they took a place of worship so that they could celebrate that type of wisdom that they took to care for beings who could do no good for them and to care for themselves and others around them. The second story is, of course, of someone who is granted a type of garden and wealth and power and following, and while they lived in the worldly pleasures, they denied God. And one of the closest people to this wealthy and powerful person reminded them to celebrate God above all else, and they denied it at that point. So God took away their garden, and that person recognized immediately that their friend's sincere advice is truth. So when a faithful, loving person gives you sincere advice, try to take it and try to listen, so that continued blessings will grow and God will be happy and the people in our lives will be happy, inshallah ta'ala. But it is that by their own choice in doing that. The next one is, of course, of the ideas of power, and that is even with Dhul Qarnayn and the story of how the devil, Shaitan, Iblis, the original one who disobeyed God, knew for a fact that God is the truth, knew for a fact that human beings are better because God said so, simply because God said so and made it happen in front of him, and continues to do so, yet he denied it and rejected it. And the same with this military leader, Dhul Qarnayn, who is very powerful and only gives a choice of obedience or obedience and great reward and continued grace, or disobedience and a severe punishment. And it is similar to the story of Solomon as well, because our prophet and fatherly figure, who is a prophet of great power and wisdom and kingdom, took that route as well, like Dhul-Qarnayn. He is the son of David, who is the most courageous among the stories in the prophets. Stories, of course, courage against an enemy is different than courage in charity, because, as I'm going to mention here, that the best type of courage is giving, is charity. And there's a reason for that. There's a wisdom for that, because even in English conversation, they'll say the almighty dollar. Right? And many times people will treat others based on what they perceive their wealth to be. And this is a disease. This is a type of disease, a type of greed, or ghafla, a type of unawareness. Is that Allah, it does not mean that we do not take the means to increase our wealth, our health, our strength, our position. It means that we do that while attributing it to God. As I mentioned to many of my students before, Abraham and his son and his family lived in the valley of Becca. They built a place of worship that every prophet went to, and reestablished the foundations that Adam did and Eve did when they first landed onto earth. Yes, we are not of this earth. We are heavenly creatures who are here for a temporary time. And so they rebuilt it, and at the time that they rebuilt this immense, miraculous place, they said, God, accept what you have commanded us to do. Even after God commanded them, they asked acceptance, and God has accepted it. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to accept the great amounts of knowledge that we might teach or share or begin to make as a sadaqah jariyah, something that will bear witness for us and not against us on the Day of Judgment. The Quran does encourage us to earn a living, to share in knowledge, to smile, to try to bring happiness, and that is a type of good deed, to bring happiness to the hearts of others. I'm going to get into some dry knowledge that deals with the sciences of math and things like that, and sometimes I'll even visit it with some of the educational stuff that I do for young children. There's comic strips I've read, or comics that I've written, or other things that are of benefit for teaching, that are of benefit for enjoying. I'm a big Dilbert fan. I'm a big fan of other types of knowledge bases that drive home the point and drive home the idea of learning and enjoying it as well. I'm starting this so that my attribution is fully to God, and that He accepts this, and that you can share it with anyone you choose to. Assalamu alaikum.